Hi friends, my name's Ben and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to kill Orikalka, one of the Rex Matriarchs, with low gear, low stats, pretty much the bare minimum requirements for really killing this tier boss. The reason I'm focusing on lower level stuff is simply because this was meant to be sort of a mid-tier boss, and I feel that giving a guide using the best in slot gear for everything, it's not really helpful to those people who are a lower level, whereas the people who are a higher level can take the information that I'm giving here and apply it with their better gear to get better, efficient kills and so on and so forth. So this is the content screen. You'll see in the description down below there'll be timestamps for each section of the guide, as well as references to where I've got useful information from. So I'm going to go over the Orikalka boss itself, just a general overview of the boss, the requirements and recommendations, the minimum and recommended gear setups, getting there, the mechanics of the boss and how to combat them, one of the methods of combating the boss, which is running it across the western wall, and the other one which is actually dealing with the mechanics properly and learning to battle them properly. So, Orikalka is a combat level of 888 with 190,000 life points. It is not poisonous, and it's actually not immune to stun or poison, meaning you could entangle the boss, and using a weapon poison is highly recommended. Its weakness is fire spells, and it uses both melee and magic combat styles, as well as special attacks. The only requirement to take out these bosses is to have access to Anachronia. However, I would recommend at least level 80 magic, 70 defense, your best fire spell being used, as well as super potions, extreme potions or overloads, as well as your best shield. The stats that I've posted here are quite low, and they are the absolute minimum that I would personally recommend taking on this boss. I feel that any lower stats that you've got there, even if you are managing to get a kill, it's probably going to take 6 or 7 minutes. It's really not going to be too worth it. I would personally recommend a gear minimum of full subjugation with a Sarah cloak, a Dragon Rider amulet and a 6-age circuit, along with a tier 80 magic weapon. Using power armor is advised, since I'm going to be showing you how to pretty much negate most if not all of the damage. On top of that, your best stat boosting potion, so in this case I went with supers just to show it can be done with low equipment, although I actually ended up in the kills, you'll see, not even using those. Prayer potion and a weapon poison ++. Also bring with you the best shield you've got, as well as runes for spells, and then fill the rest of your inventory with food. Now, if you just want to be quick getting there, this is a quick map showing a route from the Lodestone all the way to the Rex Matriarchs, Lodestone being at Anachronia, and this path requires no agility shortcuts. This is just walking all the way. I will show just after this a video of me walking all the way there, just for people who might struggle, but essentially where that big red dot is a teleport. You want to go in there and you will be in a little dungeon area which has got an entrance to the Rex Matriarchs. And here is the video of me getting there, just for anyone needing further assistance. One of two special attacks that Orikalka is going to use is called Froststorm. Now, what's going to happen is, quite early on in the fight, you will see a small water orb appear in front of Orikalka, and then shortly after, a large hurricane tornado type thing of water will appear, and you'll be hit for around 4,000 to 5,000 magic damage. You're then going to be affected by Frostbite, which is going to increase the global cooldown of all of your abilities, meaning it takes longer for you to use abilities and your DPS is going to be significantly reduced. There's two ways to deal with this effect. The first one is to use Asphyxiate when you get hit with this. Basically, the only reason to do this would be if you can't get onto one of the fishes, the eruptions spawn further away than you are and you don't get on them in time. But you can use Asphyxiate since it's going to hit the enemy 4 times, meaning that you've not got to wait for cooldowns to deal more damage. This isn't really the most efficient way to deal with this, and I'm going to explain the best way to deal with this now. The preferred method to deal with Frostbite is to wait until Orikalka uses its other special attack, Eruption, which I'll explain later. Essentially, it's going to spawn 3 fishes on the floor, which if you stand on them are going to deal some rapid melee damage. Now, what these also do is remove the effect of Frostbite from you. So the best thing to do would be wait, use Devotion, and then run onto the fishes using Protect from melee to negate all of the damage, and you can get rid of Frostbite whilst not taking a ton of damage and carry on the fight. Now, just to go over that again, the second attack which you're going to see more often is Eruption, where the boss is going to slam its tail on the ground and 3 fishes are going to spawn on the ground. Now, if you're in the vicinity of these fishes, they are going to deal some rapid melee damage, and I have been killed by this many times just through lack of concentration. The best thing to do is just walk off of them. You can use Devotion if you want, however I would save Devotion for when you've been affected by Frostbite, just because getting onto those fishes is going to be quite important. So the best thing I'd advise is just running off of them. Now, this boss is interesting as it has 2 different cycles that it can go through for its attacks, and they seem to remain on 1 kill instance. So for example, it wouldn't complete 1 cycle and then go on to the next in the same kill. So the first cycle is going to be that it uses 3 auto melee attacks followed by Froststorm. It's then going to use 1 auto attack, a magic attack, and then it's going to hit you with the eruptions. It's then going to do 3 more melee attacks, use eruptions again, use 1 melee attack, 1 magic attack, and then rinse and repeat from the very beginning. The second cycle is very similar to the first one initially, where it uses 3 melee attacks, a Froststorm, 1 melee attack, a magic attack, eruptions, 3 melee attacks, eruptions again, a magic attack, 2 melee attacks, eruptions, 2 melee attacks, a magic attack, eruptions, 3 melee attacks, eruptions, a magic attack, and then goes from the beginning again. Now, I absolutely don't expect anyone to remember all of that. I certainly don't remember it, so I have it up on a notepad. You can also access it on RuneWiki, and I'm going to leave a link in the description so that you can access that. I would highly recommend having that open while you are fighting the boss, as it makes it very easy to prepare yourself for the Froststorm. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to really determine which cycle you're going to get until you see that the first cycle isn't the case or is the case. What I would do is assume the first cycle is the one that is going to hit you, because that way you're prepared for that Froststorm high hitting attack, and if it ends up being the second cycle, you're at no real loss since the auto attacks aren't going to be dealing much damage, and the way of dealing with eruptions is to just run off of them. The first method of fighting this boss is for people who aren't very big on dealing with mechanics and just want to get some kills in. The method I would suggest for those people is to train the boss up and down the western wall. Now, going against the western wall, you aren't going to attract the attention of the other bosses, which is good, and it's going to keep you out of melee distance of the boss, stopping it from attacking you so much. Now, doing this, you are still going to have to encounter at least 1 Froststorm, since the boss does 3 auto attacks on each rotation before then using Froststorm at the beginning of the attack. Now, I would deal with Froststorm as I've explained it back in the guide earlier on. I'd refer to that again just so you know what you're doing. Although, to be safe, if you've not kept count of the auto attacks, I would just throw on Protect from Magic, because that's going to be quite a high hit if you do take it. So essentially, it's pretty simple. You run up and down this wall using your abilities, and yeah, once you get to one end of the wall, you run up to the other one. What I do when I get to the end of the wall is I like to surge. Make sure you're pointing in the right direction, because I've surged out into the middle of the arena many times. Just get your surge on and just surge past the boss and keep running. Keep using your abilities as you're running and you'll be fine. This is a longer kill, however it is for people who aren't wanting to handle the mechanics. The other method to do, which is the one that I would personally recommend, is to actually deal with the mechanics. Now what I do at the beginning of the fight is throw on Protect from melee, and I drag the boss over to the western wall, just so it's not near the other ones and I'm not risking getting the attention of the other bosses. Now after the third melee attack, I throw on my shield switch and I use Resonance so that I can heal from the Froststorm attack rather than getting hit for 4 to 5k magic damage. I'm going to be healing 4 to 5k magic damage, which is a lot nicer. From there, I just protect from melee, protect from magic, the attack after, and go from there. As you can see on screen, it's probably easier to watch, but the first eruption that you get, I would run into when you're affected by frostbite, just to get rid of that effect, and you're not going to have to deal with that again for a little while until the next Froststorm. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but I would highly recommend having RuneWiki open, showing the 2 different cycles, so you can keep track of where you are. It's not going to be massively important to prayer flick between the melee and magic attacks. Of course, if you want to be efficient, that is what I do, and it helps a lot. But certainly while learning this boss, keep those tabs open on RuneWiki and just make sure you're prepared for that Froststorm and you're prepared for the eruptions. Aside from the resonance for the Froststorm and the devotion on the Fissure once you've been hit by frostbite, there isn't really much else to this other than prayer flicking and avoiding the eruptions attacks. Now I realise I've hit you with a lot of knowledge there and a lot of information, and it's probably going to take a bit of time to sink in. Now I'm going to show a full kill here by dealing with the mechanics. I feel that running up and down the wall is a pretty simple tactic, and it's one that's used on many other bosses such as Krill and Sarah, so I figured I wouldn't go into that one too much, but I'm going to show me dealing with the mechanics here. And the reason I want to show the full fight is because I actually struggle quite a bit and make mistakes, and I think it's important to show you guys me getting a kill while making mistakes, because to be honest, you're all going to make mistakes just as I do, and to be able to know that you can, bounce back from it and it's not going to destroy your kill is pretty important, I think, personally. So yeah, enjoy this kill, and I'll be back once the kill's over. So that was the kill done, and as you can see, it wasn't a particularly perfect kill, but I got the kill in and dealt with the mechanics mostly pretty sound. Again, you'll see there was a bit of confusion where I wasn't flicking early on in the fight. That was because I wasn't sure if I was on the first or the second cycle, and I assumed, just as I said earlier, that I was on the first, so I was prepared for Froststorm, but of course Froststorm didn't come around. So that's it. The only other thing to really note is the drops that the boss drops. So the drops of note are going to be the Savage Spear Tip, Savage Spear Cap, Savage Plume, Savage Spear Shaft, Bagrada Rex, player-owned farms animal, the Heart of the Warrior, the Heart of the Berserker, and of course the boss pet. Now, currently at the time of making this video, the spear tip pieces, or rather the spear pieces, are all sitting around 33 mil each. However, I expect this isn't going to remain. The player-owned farms drop is 7 mil, and the Heart of the Warrior and the Heart of the Berserker are looking around 1.4 million each. Aside from this, I have made a loot from 50 kills of Orikalka video, which I will link here on screen and in the description below, and this shows basically what you can expect to get per kill, all of the different drops going on, and you get to see a couple of the rare drops hit, which is really nice. So that's it for this video. I did want to make a guide a little bit earlier on, however I really wanted to nail this boss and understand everything going on in the fight before getting a guide out, because I could have released a guide on how to walk it up and down the wall, but that wouldn't be teaching you guys to handle the mechanics, which ultimately is what I wanted to learn myself, and it's what I want to help people to be able to do as well. So if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like down below, comment if I've missed anything out, if there's any other guides you want to see, if there's anything you feel is inaccurate. I want to make sure these videos are as accurate and helpful as possible, and I really do appreciate, you know, constructive criticism. Please don't tell me you hate British people or something in the comments, which happened the other day. I was like, alright, sorry, there's nothing I can really do there. Subscribe if you're new and you want to see more videos. Check out the other series on the channel. I'm working on my Iron Man account. I'm wanting to get some good drops on there, and I will see you guys later.